All right, topic 8.4. We're going to talk about wetlands and mangroves. Mangroves is something maybe you haven't heard about, but we'll get into what those are. What you see right here, this is the Dominguez Gap wetlands. And these are very close to us. These are down on Del Amo and the 710. So if you haven't checked this out, you definitely should. You can get there. I believe it's Lindsay Middle School. If you know where that is, right across the street, there's a park, a newer park, and right over there are these beautiful wetlands. And these wetlands, wetlands in general are extremely valuable, yet we often destroy them for short-term gain. We want to build stuff on them. We want housing. We want factories. We want ports. So we get rid of them. When really they're some of the most useful natural features for us humans, and we'll get into all that. So if you look at the whole LA basin, there used to be a lot of wetlands. So all of these green areas that you see outlined here, these were all wetlands, including we're about right here, Jordan, right there. Let me point an arrow. This is Jordan High School. So what you see around us used to be a wetland most of the year because we're right next to the LA River, and that used to overflow all the time during the spring flooding and any time it rained. So there were a whole lots of trees and plants and animals living around here. But over time, we just get rid of it because we want to plant crops and do other things. This is another local wetland. This is a little bit newer than Dominguez Gap. This is the DeForest wetlands. And about 15 years ago or 10 years ago, this used to be just a regular park and kind of an overgrown area. But about, I think, 7 years ago, they started to build this organized wetland here. So you can go down there today, and I just checked. It's filled with water right now. April 28th. And there's trees, birds, all sorts of life back there. And another one, you may try to see if you recognize this. Those of you that have been, around Orange County, this is the Bolsa Chico wetlands. Very, very prominent, very popular area that's been refurbished. And lo and behold, in the background, look at this. This is an oil derrick right here. In fact, all this stuff up here, oil platforms. So the oil industry took out a lot of our natural wetlands. It's not just housing, but industry. Take this over, try to make some bucks from it. But remember, we can always fix that. We don't have to stay in those old ways. So let's go through some definitions. Wetlands are areas of land where water covers the soil either part or all of the time. Even if it's dry during the dry season, it's still considered a wetland because it gets wet during many times. And there are several different types of wetlands. This first one we see this picture of, this is called a marsh. So it's continually usually inundated. Most soft stem, you see grasses. Sometimes there's salt and freshwater marshes, especially around California. The marshes we have can go from freshwater to salt over hundreds of years, or even decades, can switch back and forth. It just depends on storms, water flows, things like that. Now, if you look to the right, you'll see a lot more woody plants, like trees. You see all these trees here. So if you're looking in an area like this where it's very wet, but there's trees, you're looking at a swamp. Okay, and this would be like mangroves that we'll look at later. Down in Louisiana is what I think of this, in Florida. Moving on over here, this would be a bog. And here you have less of these woody plants and typically acidic. So pH less than 7. And these are interesting, especially for history buffs and prehistory. when things die and go into these bogs, they tend to get preserved. So human remains, other sorts of organic remains, animal remains, if they die in a bog, they might survive for a while. And this last one's called a fen. And it's very similar to a bog, but it is above 7 pH, alkaline. There's more nutrients. It looks a little like there's more going on here, right? So those are different kinds of wetlands you'll want to be aware of. And they do these things called ecological services, basically doing what nature does, helping us out along the way. Water purification is one. Basically, the sewer science that we learned is basically speeding up what wetlands do on their own in an organized, fast way. Flood protection, they take water and they can absorb extra water from rain. Water filtration, not just purification, and great habitat. So look at this, like also recreation. We talked about flood, erosion, clean water, water supply. As far as cleaning the water, things like nitrates removed. So nitrates. What else is removed? Phosphates, toxins. Those are two main things. Flood control, yeah, extra water. And should I say carbon storage? Add that. So all these dead things kind of keeps them from decomposing and keeps all that respiration, all that extra CO2 from going into the air. Okay, blue carbon. Okay, and this habitat, basically for fish and young animals, it's like a nursery. It's a place where juvenile fish and birds can kind of survive and grow before heading out into the big bad world where they're more exposed to danger. And clearly the biggest threat to swamps and mangroves is commercial development. Okay, just building houses, building shopping malls, building roads, all that kind of stuff. Also dam construction, especially in the Everglades. You may have heard of the Everglades in Florida. They've been doing a lot of things because that water's been diverted. It has been going to sustain the Everglades, those wetlands in Florida. And they're trying to divert water back into the Everglades. Overfishing, especially shrimping, can be a big problem down on the Gulf Coast. And pollutants from agriculture. We talked about earlier in the mouth of the Mississippi, a lot of dead zones, all that, those nutrients coming down from the Midwest. Okay, hotels, ports, marinas, let's list that. Hotels, ports, marinas, if people want to park their boat. Fertilizer, oil, heavy metals. You mentioned, yeah. Fertilizer, oil, heavy metals. We talk about lead, cadmium, mercury. And then shrimp. We talked about shrimp farming. Now, this right here is a picture. This is a mangrove swamp. And, oh, that handwriting is Florida. Okay. And you can see, look at that. We got some housing developed on that. And this is some kind of a park. So ideally, we shouldn't have any of that there, right? And we'd have all the mangroves there still. But hopefully what we can do is prevent no development in this area here. So hopefully the laws are in place where those will be saved. And the reason why You have these mangrove trees. They're salt tolerant. So write that down. Mangrove trees, salt tolerant. Obviously, most plants have trouble with salt, but they've adapted. They've evolved to be okay. They can grow their roots right into the salt water. And they also have these kind of weird spikes that kind of come up too. You'll see them kind of just poking up. And I have this map here looking at the mangroves around the Gulf of Mexico. Florida, just covered with them all around Florida. And then there's really nothing here until on the other side in Texas, almost like there's this really clear line where mangroves, because I was wondering how come they're not here, right? It looks like, it's just a little, too far north for most of them. But there are swamps there. There are trees, salt adapted trees there in Louisiana. Now, let's see this. See if you recognize this picture. If you've been down here, this is where the LA River empties into the ocean. You see Shoreline Drive, you might be familiar with. These are the ferries that go over to Queen Mary. And if you look here, this is a little piece of wetlands that is preserved. It's called the Golden Shore Marine Biological Preserve. Okay, so let's look at this skill. Propose a solution to reduce wetland loss in coastal cities like Long Beach. Okay, so the problem. Identify the problem. So wetlands destroyed for development. Okay, so that's our problem. How are we going to create a solution? Well, one solution that is why this is here. If developers want to develop something, they have to put aside part of it to be a wetland. Have it so it's not developed, so it can maintain some of these ecological services. Okay, so the solution. Developer agrees. Set aside land to remain a wetland, we'll say. So you basically, both sides get what they want, although it can be argued that's still not a great solution because half a wetland is a lot less effective than a whole wetland. Okay, but the benefits of this is clear. You get, some services intact. So the water purification, the flood control, you still get some of that, the habitat, and you still get some, economic development. Okay. All right. So in terms of wetlands, very important, overlooked a lot. People think, oh, they're wet and they're dirty, there's nothing we can do. But they have a tremendous impact on us humans and do amazing, great things for us. So we do need to preserve them.